Hey everyone, it is Tuesday, the first Tuesday. For those of you who have been coming through for a while, y'all know what that means. It is time for the Tabletop RPG philosophy video of the month, or I should say specifically, that RPG Elite philosophy video. And for those of you who are new to the channel, first, I want to welcome you. But what we do on the first Tuesday of the month, because I come out with videos every Tuesday and Friday, is we talk about RPG Elite philosophy, which is something unique to this channel. You're not going to find this anywhere else on the internet. I'm not lying. So if you want to find out about RPG Elite philosophy, Tabletop RPG Elite philosophy, what that is all about, this is the place, because it is nowhere else. My leets, and what's up leets, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. And we've been doing this now for quite a while. We are at number 8 today. And let me tell you something. Today, well, it's about to get jiggy. You know, we have 10 total RPG Elite qualities. And if you were to ask me, Servant, which one do you think is in the top 3? Like, if you had to pick 3 of all of these qualities, which one would be in the top 3? I'm going to tell you right now, this is at the top. And it is so important and so weighty that it's going to be a couple videos that we're going to use to cover this whole thing. And that's a way that you can tell whether or not an RPG Elite quality is important. If I make more than one video on an RPG Elite quality, then it means that it's an important quality. That's what we're going to get into today. So buckle up, y'all. It might get a little hot up in here, but hey, you know, that's how we do it. So let's look at it. RPG Elite quality number 8. It's about the story, not the system. I'm going to take it a little bit further than that. Not only is it not about the system or the dice or the mechanics, I'm going to include those as well. It's about the story. Story is life. Your life is a story. Now, sometimes it might be more interesting than at other times, but it is a story. This is where we get the book genre called memoirs. Memoirs are looking back at someone's life. But nobody wants to read someone's memoirs if it's boring. No, they have to present this in a way that is a story in order for people to go out and buy the thing. When we talk about the past, we talk about history. When we even want to go further back into the past, what do? We want to go to prehistory. When we're looking at the headlines, we want to know what's going on in the world, or what's going on the internet, what's going on in entertainment. What are we looking for? We're looking for a news story. Story permeates every area of our lives. It is our lives. Now, you can fight and kick and scream against that all day long. But this is definitely one of those cases where the truth doesn't care about your feelings. It just is. And in the tabletop RPG, it's about the story. Or it should be about the story. Now, it doesn't surprise me that there are people in the tabletop RPG community and culture that don't understand this reality. For crying out loud, this is a global thing. This is not just in the tabletop RPG community. This is in society all over. It permeates it. Why? Because so many people have been programmed to accept the superficial, the shallow, as normative, and to search out those very vacuous life experiences and then turn around and say, that was fun, which is even more disturbing. To be honest, when we're looking at this focus on the superficial. Now, of course, you got to go through the shallow to get through the deeper parts. But the problem is that people stay in the shallow and call this normal. And again, a good time. See, that is where it gets very disturbing. It's a very impatient and hedonistic way at looking at life in general, and specifically at the tabletop RPG experience. And when we do that, what we're really saying is that I just want a microwave experience. It's right now, right now, right now. Nothing deep, nothing substantive. No. And there's myriad reasons why that's the case, but one is that would take more work. The second would be that would make you vulnerable, but I'm not going to get into that. In this video, we're going to focus on the story. Why is it not about the story? Why are there people out there saying, well, tabletop RPG sessions are not about the story? Why is that? Again, most of it has to do with the fact that we want to call the superficial and the shallow normative and fun. Because deep down, we're afraid to ask the question, really? I mean, was that really fun? Or is it possible that I've just wasted hours of my time and I'm trying to cover it up with a cloak of delusion by saying it was fun? Maybe, maybe not. Over the years, I have interviewed quite a few people for my campaigns. And the one thing that I hear in a lot of these interviews, I ask a question. The question that I ask a lot is, how long of a campaign have you been in? Like, what's the longest campaign have you been in? And I almost get this across the board. Oh yeah, well, I've been in one for a couple of months, or I've been in one, we get together for, 2-3 sessions and then it kind of fizzles out or whatever. Now, I'm going to hazard a guess here. It's going to be of one of two reasons why this is happening. Okay. Number one, the GM is not committed to investing in the story. And so what happens is they get together, they got that little microwave mentality, they get their little hedonistic hit, and then they want to go on to something else. It's tabletop RPG ADHD. And so they can't build anything that's long lasting and has substance. They don't have it in them because, again, they've been programmed to think that the superficial and the shallow and the hedonistic and the one hits are normative. I just need to go on to get that another serotonin hit. It's worn off after 2 or 3 sessions. That could be. The other one could be is that the players themselves have figured out, well, there's nothing really going on here. So since there's nothing really going on, I'm not into this. I'm not down with this. I need to move on. And then you ask them if they even leave tabletop RPGs. Then you ask them and you say, well, why'd you leave? Like, it really wasn't my thing. That's what they say. But actually, if you get down underneath the surface, you begin to find out there was no story. There was no direction. Just a series of unconnected random events that went nowhere and meant nothing. And so they didn't stick around because they instinctively knew they were wasting their time and they didn't want to do that. Now, could be, right? Now there are going to be some situations in there where people just leave and go to different places. We get that. But I'm not talking about those. Those are the outliers. I'm talking about everybody's still around, but it's not going on. Why? It could be because, well, there is no story. Now, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here. We would have company over after church or just company in general. And I would tell stories. Sometimes we get on the subject of me telling stories about my sordid past, where I was the kind of strategist for a thieving ring. This is way back in the day. And it's not me glorifying that stuff, but I'm making a point here. And so I'm telling this one particular thing that happened to us as a team one night when we were going out and we were hitting some places. And I knew I had told this story before, but I didn't know if I had told it to everybody who was there. But one of the people there, well, I knew that he had heard this story before. He was all up in it, right? And, you know, after I'm in the middle of this thing and I'm talking to him, I'm looking at everybody looking at me. For a quick second there, I was just kind of like, you know, my Twilight Zone moment going, what is that? What everybody's staring at me for? But then I understood why they were staring at me. Because it wasn't just a recitation of the events and what happened. It's because of how I told this as a story. And then one of them, that one I was just telling you about, he said, man, Mr. Dove tells the best stories. Now, I could have just said, this happened, that happened, this happened, that happened, blah, blah, blah. They would not have been interested and they would not have remembered the story. But I didn't say it like that. I used expressive language. I used my hands. I was using inflection in my voice and tone, and I was using different voices for even the people who were involved. Why? Because I was telling a story. I wasn't just reciting events. Now, it could be, if your campaign can't last past a couple sessions or even a couple of months, it could be because you have no story. And everybody kind of senses that and there's ain't nothing going on. It's boring. They don't want to be a part of that. Now, again, there are some outliers. You're doing a one-shot, it's expected. You ain't going to do a campaign. You're doing a one-shot. But one of the things that I tell people when they come into my campaigns is like, listen, this is a campaign. This is not something that we're going to do for 1 month, 2 months. We're talking, this is a multi-year campaign. And the people who are currently in my One Ring campaign know this and have been around, and they are still around. Because what I do is make it about the story, because it should be about the story. Let me give you another quick example with my wife. Now, my wife, she doesn't play tabletop RPGs. She didn't even know nothing about tabletop RPGs before she married me. Then I start playing tabletop RPGs, start having people come over to the crib, we start playing, and she begins to learn. And when we're alone and we're talking about tabletop RPGs, this is my wife who doesn't know anything about tabletop RPGs. But I'll start talking about it and she knows how passionate I am about these things. And I think y'all know that too. And we start talking and she goes, why in the world would somebody not role play? Because that would just be boring. I like to watch you guys because that's what you do. Note it. This is my wife who does not play tabletop RPGs. Now hear me now. We also have had conversations, and because of the role playing and because of the storytelling aspect, she has said, I think I might like to do that too. Is that right? See, it should be about the story because it connects with people. And when somebody who doesn't even play tabletop RPGs, didn't even know nothing about it, still knows hardly anything about it except that her husband is one who is into it, but I don't pressure her to try to do tabletop RPGs, but she has seen what happens at our table, and that interests her. I'm guaranteeing you it interests her because for us, it's about the story.